Hey, everybody, welcome in. This is NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Kaufman, pleased to be in for Craig Mish today. We got you for the next 90 minutes. Going to be a lot of football. Fair warning, like you're looking for something else. Let's be honest. We're going to get to a lot of the NFL momentarily. Look ahead, obviously, to Monday Night Football and recap a very busy Sunday. Some teams outright eliminated from playoff contention, others hanging on for dear life, while some are starting the process of creating a little bit of separation. But separation is exactly what the NCAA College Football Playoff Committee did to bring in some, oust others. The bracket for the College Football Playoff, the 12-team bracket, has been finalized. Let's show you what it looks like, not without its controversy, but that's just the way it goes, whether it was 4 teams up to 12 last year, and we continue on, obviously, to where we are right now. The big story, of course, coming off of, well, really, there are two big stories. The advancement of Indiana in getting past Ohio State in this most recent conference title game, Indiana leapfrogging into the number 1 overall spot. The real big story, though, I guess, would be Notre Dame not being part of the college football playoff, much to the chagrin, as you can see there, of anyone involved with the Irish. They have even declined participating in a bowl. They are so butthurt about the whole thing. But you see the top 4 seeds in order: Indiana, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Those teams with first-round byes, and they will wait out the competition once that tournament gets started. Should be a lot of fun. There'll be some bowls, obviously, plenty of them along the way, some with more significance than others, some part of this college football playoff. Notre Dame taking the year off, chasing a championship in 2026. We go to the NFL now, and let's go right to Sunday Night Football, where the Kansas City Chiefs fell 20-10 to the Houston Texans. What that means is Kansas City, and the number's a little bit different depending on where you look, but now roughly an 8, maybe 10% chance of the defending AFC champions even making the postseason. Patrick Mahomes and company on the verge of being eliminated, falling to 6-7, part of a grouping of teams that sit at 6-7. The Baltimore Ravens, even the Miami Dolphins, who have gotten hot, are in this mix as well. Texans, really, it was the defense, and this is the number 1 defense in the NFL that slowed down Mahomes, contained that Chiefs team offensively, did enough offensively, led by C.J. Stroud, and now they are rolling at this point in time. Houston is up to 8-5, 5 straight wins, trailing the now AFC South leading Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-4, who have won 4 in a row by just the 1 game, as the Indianapolis Colts on the verge of falling out of the mix altogether. So really a monumental evening, obviously, for both the AFC South and more so there in the West for Kansas City. And C.J. Stroud and Patrick Mahomes, let's hear from both of these guys just about, well, all that transpired throughout the evening.
Oh yeah, it's big time. Entering our season here last year, and kind of had that bad taste in your mouth. We were all motivated to win this game, and do the right things, to win the game. So that's a blessing. But always things to clean up, and offensively, we got to be better in the second half. But I thought, we played hard, and in December you want to get wins, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, just having 2 more opportunities to go down and tie the football game and not doing it. You got to be able to make that stuff happen, and we haven't done that enough this year.
It seems like this one's hit particularly hard. Is that true? How you feel?
Yeah, I mean, you're just getting late in the season, and you're not going to get these opportunities back. And that's a good football team, but we had chances, and we didn't execute at the right time to win it.
Not long ago, Indianapolis was leading the AFC South and obviously was in contention for the first round bye, number 1 overall spot in the conference. And instead, now the Colts are sitting at 8-5 in the 8th spot in the AFC, which means if the season ended right now, the Colts would not be a playoff team. Took another step backward yesterday in a 3rd straight loss, as Daniel Jones, who was already playing on a broken leg, had a fractured fibula, ruptured his Achilles in the other leg. And what that means is, with that surgery, as you see from Adam Schefter, he's done. He's not playing the rest of this year. And with Anthony Richardson already on the shelf, that means Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame product, who did come into a just manhandling courtesy of the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, Hard to believe it's going to get much better for Leonard and the Colts the rest of the way, who do have a difficult schedule. I don't think it's hyperbole to say this team may not win the rest of this season, which would be remarkable after an 8-2 start to potentially finish at 8-9. Over in the AFC North, the Steelers got the best of the Ravens. Not a lot of people saw that coming, with Baltimore a 5.5-point favorite. But this Ravens team continues to falter. Really up and down play out of that offense, led by another quarterback who is dealing with injury, Lamar Jackson. He's playing on it, to his credit, but it's not looked great for him so far. Meanwhile, with that 27-22 victory, that moves Pittsburgh into the top spot in the AFC North at 7-6. 2 straight losses now for the Ravens, who again fighting for their playoff lives, currently in the hunt out of the top 7, whereas Pittsburgh vaults up in the conference now to the 4 seed as it sits at the moment with 4 games still to play. Aaron Rodgers, let's hear from him.
I thought it was our most crisp week of preparation on the field. I think off the field we've been really good, but I thought the energy was good. Not a big believer in coincidences, so I got to think that just Marquez and Adam out there, made a difference from a professionalism standpoint. Not saying those other guys don't have professionalism. I love Gal and Roman and all of our other guys, but I just think there was an extra level of focus this week. And, then Art wanted to be aggressive on the first play. As you guys were talking about, we hadn't completed a pass, over 20 yards in a while. And it took a shot. DK got it, and then he was kind of on one. But he was on one in practice on Thursday. And then he was on one on practice on Friday. So,
remember when Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, and his Bills all the way back in week 1 against the Ravens with about 5 minutes left overcame a double-digit deficit to win that game? Well, we saw something not exactly the same, but struck a chord. Buffalo rallies 21 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Bengals 39-34. Joe Burrow basically gave the game away. He was intercepted twice on back-to-back drives, including a pick six. There was also a fumble on a 2-point conversion. The Bills come away with the victory, moves them to 9-4. Right now, the 5th spot in the AFC sets up a pivotal matchup with the Patriots this Sunday in Foxborough, as New England with a win can clinch the AFC East. But the Bills obviously have something to say about that. Meanwhile, the Bears and the Packers, another bout for first place. All these rivalry games taking place here, and Green Bay ultimately held on. Was not easy, but the Packers prevail with the victory, moves them up to the 2nd seed in the NFC at 9-3-1, whereas the Bears drop all the way to 7 in a crowded conference at 9-4. But still, as we look at it right now, just a half game back because of that tie, obviously, that Green Bay had with Dallas all the way back early in the year. So again, Green Bay 9-3-1, Chicago sitting at 9-4 as that race gets fascinating down the stretch. Titans and Browns. This one was more compelling than it should have been. Shedeur Sanders, great game, about 350 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. His Browns, though, did fall short. Only the 2nd win for Tennessee this year. The Titans absolutely destroying their draft stock. 31-29, they prevail in that contest. We have other games that we will get to throughout the show. The Saints, the Buccaneers. That was the Saints upset win of Tampa, 24-20. Playoff implications there as well, obviously, for the Bucs in their pursuit of winning the NFC South. Not looking as good right now. The Rams and Cardinals. Rams continue to be one of the best teams in the NFL and currently have the MVP favorite in Matthew Stafford. We're going to come on back. Vinny Iyer is going to join us from Sporting News. We'll continue looking at all things NFL here on NewsWire.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
Back on NewsWire, joined by our first guest of the program to keep the NFL conversation going. That is Vinny Iyer, writes over at Sporting News. You can find him on Twitter at Vinny Iyer. Vinny, how you doing?
Oh, doing well. Yeah, it's a crazy week 14 so far. We got one more game left. I don't know what's going to happen tonight either, so good luck with that one.
Well, let's talk about the primetime game that happened last night. I felt the Texans, were kind of unfairly, whatever the number, I think it was 3.5-point underdogs, somewhere in that vicinity. To me, this was a spot that did not favor the Chiefs at all in terms of the matchup. I know a lot of people wanted to lean into, they're at Arrowhead, it's Mahomes, it's Reed, it's desperation, they're fighting for their playoff life, all of it. The recipe that we saw, obviously, the Eagles trounce the Chiefs with back in the Super Bowl was the ability to get to the passer and make life miserable for Mahomes. And the Texans, with the number 1 defense in all of football, were fully capable of playing the exact same way. Sure enough, they did. He was scrambling all over the place and just couldn't do anything, and his weapons weren't helping him out either. And so Kansas City, let's start there, 6-7, and now really, it's a real mathematical uphill battle to make the playoffs. Are the Chiefs dead in your mind?
It's close. They're going to need some help. The biggest thing is they need the Chargers to lose the Eagles tonight and give them an opportunity next week to try to beat the Chargers and try to close that gap. We know the Texans just earned that tiebreaker, so it might be hard to jump at them, but now they got to eye the Chargers. I think last night it was eyeing the Colts if they could beat the Texans, but now the Chargers do have a very tough schedule to close it out, so that's what they're going to hope for to get in. They can no longer win the AFC West. They just don't have enough games to do so. So I think the biggest thing, there's just a lot of dysfunctional stuff going on with the Chiefs that we haven't seen. They really don't have a consistent pass rush. Their pass protection is not very good. And for the first time, I'm seeing an air of desperation from Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, just like they don't know what to do. They're searching for answers. And usually don't get the Chiefs on their heels, but that's how they're feeling like right now. So I don't know if I have a lot of faith in the Chiefs even to beat the Chargers next week. I know the Chargers tend to also flop in their own right here. We'll see what happens against the Eagles. I will find out what I want to feel about that game once I see the Chargers play tonight.
Well, to make the playoffs, it's roughly 4-1 for Kansas City, minus 700 to miss the playoffs, which would have seemed unthinkable with Patrick Mahomes, a healthy Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. But maybe more interest there in the AFC South. in what just this division, Vinny, has really turned upside down, because obviously between the Colts slumping, Daniel Jones ailing, and then just outright injured with a ruptured Achilles to where he's going to miss the rest of the year, and it seems like their fates are in the hands of Riley Leonard, and even Jonathan Taylor has slumped of late. He was running away with the Offensive Player of the Year award there for a little while. This team has lost a few in a row, was 8-2. I don't think it's crazy to say they may not win another game. Meanwhile, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who do have a tough schedule, but, or pardon me, actually they don't. I take that back. Houston and Jacksonville are both in situations where they could go 3-1, 4-0, somewhere along those lines. This is a battle as we look at it there. In the South, we're looking at Jacksonville 9-4, Houston as well as Indianapolis at 8-5, but it's the Jags and the Texans that are surging at the moment. Who reigns supreme? Who takes this division?
Yeah, I think the Jaguars have been sneaky good all season. They're trying to find their identity. And what's been the hardest thing so far for them is getting settled in this offense with Liam Cohen. And you're starting to see the signs of it breaking out. I think this Jacoby Myers acquisition seemed a little bit underrated at the time. Why did they do it? Travis Hunter was out, and now you see the chemistry between Trevor Lawrence and Jacoby Myers. Now Brian Thomas Jr. is starting to make plays. Brenton Strange, the tight end, is back. So you're starting to see the weapons all come together. Travis Etienne is running well. This defense forces a lot of turnovers as well. And they're getting the Jets this week, so you figure more of those turnovers are coming in their favor. So Jaguars are slowly putting things together. I don't think we want to sleep on them in the AFC altogether here, because I think they could definitely make a run in the playoffs the way they're playing right now. Really, we haven't seen Trevor Lawrence put back-to-back games this well, maybe ever, in the NFL. So I think you look at the Jaguars, you say they have to be in control just based on the quarterback play in their situation.
When it comes to the Texans, and I think most people would believe that whether it's as a division leader or a wild card team, we believe Houston's going to be in the postseason. And so going with that, how scary a team is this? You know, the offense with C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, certainly capable. We know that, even though much of the year it's been kind of underwhelming there for Stroud in particular. But this defense, statistically, and to the eye for that matter, is the best in the NFL. And so when we get into playoff time and just having to win one game, like against the Chargers, like against almost the Chiefs last year, how dangerous is this team?
Yeah, and really the quarterback is going to be the issue, right? Does CJ Stroud come through in the game and make the plays he did? Really, he played really well against the Chiefs last night. He was moving around, finding guys downfield. If he plays at that level, they have a shot to beat anyone. But it's kind of like the Broncos, right? They have a dominant defense as well. But Bo Nix is a bit of a roller coaster ride from quarter to quarter, game to game. So that's the hard thing right now, is trying to figure out who are the AFC quarterbacks you trust most after Josh Allen, when it's looking like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson are not going to be the field. So you believe in Drake May in his breakout season. Is he going to build that into the playoffs, or will experience kind of become a factor? Is this kind of overdue for Lawrence and maybe adjust if they can make it? So really the questions are about the quarterback. I think they're about equal for Nix and Stroud, but I think Stroud has a little bit more basis of knowing what he can do. So I think Stroud can turn it on at any point, and they do have a quarterback capable of helping them win the playoffs.
We wrap up week 14 in LA with the Chargers playing host to the Eagles, who have struggled with a couple losses in a row. The Chargers, they're kind of inconsistent in their own right. Philadelphia on the road, a slight favorite, 2.5 points. Where do you go here?
Yeah, I'm feeling the Eagles a little bit more on this game because, look, they've not been the best offensively, but they got A.J. Brown going. You can't throw in the Chargers downfield, so I think that's going to help them. They just need to become more pass-happy, and they'll be okay. Don't force the run with Saquon Barkley. It's not working. So more of Jalen Hurts, and I think they'll be okay against the Chargers.
Something about both Saquon, Derrick Henry, the robust seasons they had last year, taking a real step back here in 2025. Again, Vinny Iyer, Sporting News. Get him on Twitter at Vinny Iyer. Vinny, thank you so much. Enjoy the game.
All right, guys.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back with you. Our thanks to Vinny Iyer. Plenty more football on the way, both pro and college, in the next hour. So hang with us on NewsWire. It is now time for our SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, well, why don't we start with the Browns and the Titans? I know the game everybody was looking forward to, but honestly wound up being pretty compelling. In fact, the Cleveland Browns, who probably too many people stake their survivor futures on, going down in dramatic fashion after a late rally, failing on a 2-point conversion, which if you haven't seen the highlight, look it up on social media or wherever you'd like to, because it's jarring that was the play call out of Kevin Stefanski's team. So the Titans, they were pretty much in control of this game, where they were leading by the end there, 31-29. The Browns had punched it in, had a 2-point try to try and force extra time, and instead kept Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, who had thrown and rushed, the combo there of just about 400 all-purpose yards, 4 touchdowns, had been excellent in this game. Kept the rookie off the field altogether. Didn't put out another quarterback. Instead, it was the running back, Quinshon Judkins, the rookie, who took the direct snap and just started backpedaling and scrambling all around, and eventually threw off his back foot into traffic into no man's land, and game over. As far as being left off the field altogether, I think Shedeur scratching his head a little bit.
I was thankful that I was driving down the field and we scored.
Did you wish you had the ball in your hand in that moment to tie the game?
If I'm out there any play, I would wish I would always have the ball in my hand, but that's not what football is. Sometimes you got to run the ball. Sometimes you got to kick a field goal. Everything. That's the game. That's the most important thing is the ball. So in any situation, of course you would want to, but I know we practiced something and we executed it in practice, and we just didn't seem to this day. So I would never go against, kind of like what the call was or anything.
Did it work in practice?
No, we just called it in the game and it didn't work in practice. I don't think you call plays in a game that didn't work in practice.
So if there was one game that I was very much on the wrong side of yesterday, it was the Vikings and the Commanders. I really thought Washington would put up a fight, maybe even steal that one. Heck, Let's not forget the Commanders were favored at a point after the line flipped when Jaden Daniels was ruled in, and it looked like we weren't going to see Marcus Mariota. And instead, what wound up happening was Daniels got hurt, rushed off the field very early, and sure enough, it's back to backup life despite having Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel out there and available. With J.J. McCarthy back as opposed to Max Brosmer, the Vikings just threw all over the place. A rather effortless 31-0 win. Justin Jefferson, it's not been the greatest season for the Vikings or for him personally, especially with this turbulent quarterback situation, but he was happy to get the W.
Coming out and pretty much just swinging and just everything is happening right for us. JJ going through his reads and making the right reads and just getting the ball, in and out of his hands and just letting us, go work, the rest for him. So it was just a great team effort. Defense played very, very well. Offense played good. Special teams played good. So it was an all-around team win.
Can you enjoy yourself when you're not getting the ball a lot?
Of course. I mean, when you win, I'd rather win and not get the ball than lose and not get the ball. So as long as we win in and this team coming in here with a happy smile on their face and we have that confidence to continue on and to continue to next week and to better ourselves and to make sure that we continue this feeling. That's the main objective.
By this point in the season, Jefferson is typically a lock for 1,000 yards already and on his way to 1,600 or so. Instead, he's sitting at 810 through 13 games. Not great. As far as Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, disappointing loss to the Saints, 24-20. NFC South hopes may be evaporating.
Crushing loss was this big.
Sucks. Felt like we just gave it away or didn't make the plays to win it. Just too many mistakes, and conditions aren't an excuse because they had to play them too. So none of that matters. Just a matter of making the plays and plays that guys have made a bunch of times. Just got to execute.
Fourth down critical today.
Absolutely. Got to be able to get a yard in those short yardage situations. That's just flat out. That's sometimes it's mentality, and they're going to have a free blocker, free hitter on some of those, and going to have to make a miss or one or more, and just got to execute in those critical situations.
Bucs Panthers tied atop the South. We'll be back.
Take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today. only on SportsGrid.
All right, we got another hour to go here on NewsWire. Adam Kaufman back with Jacob Kamenker joining us here. And on Twitter, you can find him at that very same name. Of course, an NFL trending news reporter over at USA Today. Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's get into it. And one thing that was really fun about Week 14, a lot of these divisional races and first place up for grabs, not the teams are clinching first in their divisions, but obviously jockeying for seeding, who's in, who's out, who's still in the hunt, all of it. And we're starting to get, just now with a month left in the regular season, a little bit more clarity, kind of, maybe not in the AFC North, where Pittsburgh held off Baltimore 27-22, a little controversially. I think you could look at it and say, well, Isaiah Likely seemed to hold that ball long enough, probably should have been a Ravens touchdown. It wasn't. So the Steelers, they get that win. Aaron Rodgers, we could show his numbers. He did enough. 284 passing, a touchdown. He ran for one as well. And now we're looking at it here with the Steelers 7-6, leading this division, one game in front of Baltimore. The Bengals, had they not lost to the Bills, were still, very much alive, I think, in this race. But then you drop to 4-9. It's probably over for Joe Burrow and company. How does this shake out in your mind, though, between Pittsburgh and Baltimore going forward?
I think it's going to be tough for the Ravens to rebound from that loss. Now, let's be clear. They still have an opportunity to do so. They have another head-to-head game against the Steelers, and I believe presently, if the Ravens do win that remaining game against the Steelers, I believe they would still have they would end up retaking the tiebreaker over the Steelers based off their record in common games. But it's going to boil down to probably a tiebreaker if the Ravens are going to take it. But you watch how they've been playing lately, and things just don't seem to be coming together for them. Lamar Jackson was better this last week after kind of a 3-week cold spell. I don't know if he was just a little rusty coming back from injury or if he was a little bit banged up. I know he's been nursing kind of toe and knee and hamstring injuries all year. So we'll see if he can get healthier down the stretch. But the thing that disappointed me the most for the Ravens in this game was their defense just kind of no-showed against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, who hadn't been able to generate a ton of offense this season. They had DK Metcalf have his best game as a Steeler. He was consistently making downfield plays. So it just felt like a game where the Ravens defense should have played better than they did. And because they couldn't kind of put it together, they ended up behind the 8 ball, and Lamar Jackson did everything in his power he could to come back in that game, but it wasn't enough. We were basically half an Isaiah Likely footstep away from potentially having a Ravens win, but if they had just had a little bit better performance on defense, they might not have needed it to come down to that call, Adam. So I'm a little worried about the Ravens, but this still feels like a coin flip division that's really going to come down to the last couple weeks of the season.
Well, that in mind, what we're looking at right now, you've got the Steelers at minus 160 to win this division, the Ravens at plus 170. Pittsburgh next has Miami. Now, my read on the Dolphins, wrong throughout the year. I've personally fired Mike McDaniel 15 times already, and yet this team continues to play for him, has obviously gotten hot. This is, for the kind of Jekyll and Hyde Steelers, a losable game. That said, plus 170 on Baltimore to win this division, it feels like there's still some value in that number.
Absolutely. I think if you look at these two teams and how they've played throughout the season, you would say, hey, the Ravens are probably the better overall team, have the better roster ever so slightly. And when these two quarterbacks are playing at the peak of what they are right now, Lamar Jackson clears Aaron Rodgers without a doubt. So I think the idea of backing the Ravens at that number makes a lot of sense to me. And I think to your point, that game against the Dolphins may not look as tough on paper as people might anticipate, but the Dolphins have heated up a little bit. So that could end up being a trickier spot for the Steelers, especially if they're kind of, holding their heads up high after beating the Ravens and think that, hey, we can handle the Dolphins with ease. So it'll be interesting to watch that one.
I was really hoping the Bengals would make a run, but again, with that collapse, really, Joe Burrow throwing away that game multiple times in the fourth quarter, probably ends Cincinnati's season. But Buffalo, that's an interesting story here with the Bills, and yet another comeback out of the reigning MVP, Josh Allen, who went for 252 passing, 78 rushing, 4 total touchdowns in that high-scoring game there. You see his numbers as I rattled off. Now we look at the AFC, where the Bills are sitting currently as the 5th seed in the conference at 9-4, 2 games back of the Patriots, who, of course, they lost to in Buffalo back in Week 5, and now will visit Foxborough in a hat and T-shirt opportunity for the Patriots. A win over the Bills, it locks up the AFC East. But a lot of people think revenge narrative is a big one here for Buffalo. What are you expecting this weekend out of the Bills?
Yeah, I think the Bills are going to have a bounce-back performance against the Patriots. Remember, when they played early in the season, the Patriots hadn't gone on this big, long winning streak yet. They lost the Raiders in Week 1 in a game where they were just completely flat, and the Bills were playing at the highest level that they've played. Now the Bills have hit some speed bumps. The Patriots haven't been tested as much, and I know the Patriots have had a full bye week to prepare for this, but the level Josh Allen is playing at right now is very high. We've just seen him make plays in the passing game consistently and as a runner. I mean, that big, long touchdown run against the Bengals where he just found the lane and the defense just accelerated quickly and got to the end zone. That was impressive stuff for him. So I'm anticipating him having, one of his MVP level type performances. I think Drake May will try to go blow for blow with him. But Adam, I've been feeling like the Patriots are due for a loss at some point soon. And this just feels like a spot where the Bills find a way to win, tighten up that AFC race or AFC East race, and make it really exciting down the final 3 games of the season as the young Patriots try to close out that divisional title. So I think the Bills find a way to win.
Very important game for the Pats, not just in terms of trying to win that division, but 10 straight wins, same as the Broncos, each sitting 11-2 right now. And Denver, because of that latest win over the Raiders yesterday, did clinch a couple of tiebreakers against the Pats, which means the only way that New England is winning the top seed in the AFC and getting that first round bye is by finishing with a better record than Denver here down the stretch of the final 4 games. Meanwhile, we have the Chargers tonight at home against the Eagles. Monday Night Football to wrap up Week 14. Philly is a slight favorite, 2.5 points, but this team has lost its last 2 games. Super inconsistent, especially offensively right now. There's no Lane Johnson to help keep Jalen Hurts safe. Seems like A.J. Brown is the only one who might be offering some level of consistency in that offense these days, which is kind of crazy given how we talked about him earlier in the season. What do you think we get tonight?
Yeah, Adam, my lean is on the Eagles here, but I'm a little worried about it. Like you mentioned, Lane Johnson being out, that just always hurts the Eagles' offense. Their offensive line doesn't play nearly as well when he's out of the game, and obviously that has an impact just on the entire unit as a whole. They're also without Jalen Carter on the defensive line, so the Chargers might be able to run the ball a little bit better than usual. But I just look at this Chargers team, and I am worried about Justin Herbert in this matchup. They give up a ton of pressure. He's the most pressured quarterback in the league, gets hit a lot. He does a really good job of avoiding sacks. Right now, he is dealing with that injury to his left non-throwing wrist. He's going to try to play through it. By all accounts, sounds like he's going to be in the game. I'm just worried that the Eagles are going to bring a defensive approach that just focuses on trying to hit Herbert as much as they can, rattle him, and him knowing that he has kind of that injured hand might impact him as a passer, even though it's his non-throwing hand. So I just look at it from that perspective and say, hey, the Eagles probably have the slight edge here, even though they haven't been consistent. We know they have talent. We know they have really good defensive coaching. So I anticipate a low-scoring slugfest. I think the Eagles might come out of this with like a 17-13 type of win tonight, Adam.
Eagles at 8-4 right now. They don't officially have that division locked up, but it's pretty close. I don't think the Cowboys are going to catch them. I don't think Philadelphia is in danger of not being a playoff team as a result. Chargers, they're not going to catch the Broncos, so you start to think about their wild card future here. At 8-4, Houston, Indianapolis, Baltimore, Kansas City, all teams that would love an opportunity to knock out the Chargers. Do you expect a level of urgency from LA, or is Herbert's injury potentially too much to overcome?
I think there will be some urgency just knowing that if they win, they're going to be in the driver's seat for the wild card and really have a big advantage over the Chiefs. But I'm just too worried about that injury. I hate backing quarterbacks their first game after a big injury. So I want to see how Herbert looks before I'm willing to say, yes, he could play through this successfully.
Jacob Kamenker is on Twitter at that very same name. Again, an NFL trending news reporter over at USA Today and a good friend of the program here, NewsWire, SportsGrid. Jacob, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.
take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Back here on NewsWire, and of course, a host and analyst across the SportsGrid network, hosts the Early Line Monday through Friday right here on the network, and my partner in crime on Sundays opposite the 4 p.m. Eastern NFL slate. Joe Ranieri joins the show now. Joe, how we doing, bud?
Still trying to figure out what the cut for Pete Carroll was in that Raiders-Bronco game yesterday that we covered there, Adam. Still trying to figure out that he had definitely knew what the total and the spread was in that game.
You're not alone. A lot of social media is right on the same page for whether you're looking for another FBI investigation. Hopefully, if Pete is one and done in Vegas and he's out at the end of this year, we're going to know something fishy was going on. Let's talk about another game that honestly probably people didn't want to talk about while it was on, let alone right now. But that is the Saints and Buccaneers. And we saw the Saints led by Shuck the quarterback with an unlikely win, 24-20, which obviously New Orleans isn't going anywhere, but for Tampa, important loss because now you're looking at Tampa and Carolina, each 7-6 atop the NFC South. Neither team is going to be a wild card team, so it's win the division, get into the playoffs, or go home. What do you think ends up happening? Is Tampa going to be healthy enough to get this done, or is Carolina, I can't believe I'm saying this, is Carolina too hot?
Well, the good news for both them, both the Bucs and Carolina, is that they're going to face each other 2 out of the final 3 weeks of the season. So they still got to play one another, and that's where it will be decided, which seems kind of fitting for this division, that it should come down to these two just figuring out which is the better team, because Carolina, a lot of people will say, kind of may have overperformed here a little bit, but the Bucs have lost 5 of their last 7 games. I mean, they have no excuse. Yes, injuries, I get it. It's a part of the game, but there is no excuse to lose that game, even in a hurricane-style game there where it was raining sideways the entire time. It was also raining sideways for Tyler Shuck, like you mentioned, at New Orleans. And you know what? He figured out a way to get the pay dirt twice. And it's I don't know what the Saints are doing winning games. They do realize there's a draft coming up, but neither here nor there. Tampa better figure it out because they don't look anything like the team we saw to start the season.
Bucs are still the overwhelming favorites to win that division in terms of the odds makers, minus 330, whereas to win the NFC, 16-1. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. Super Bowl 35-1. But we should at least acknowledge no Mike Evans, no Jalen McMillan. These guys didn't play in the last game, but they are expected back this upcoming week, at least Evans anyway. So as this team gets healthier, the weapons around Baker Mayfield, how big a difference does that make in terms of potentially making a run?
Well, he completed 46.7% of his passes yesterday. That's the lowest of the season for him. And we all know he's not healthy. How could you be? I mean, he's gotten absolutely destroyed this season because of the offensive line issues there. You know, you can have all the weapons you want. If Baker Mayfield can't get them the ball and do it and he didn't get any help, by the way, in that game. You know, he had a couple of big drops by his receivers in that game that could have went the other way. But I think it's important Baker stay as healthy as possible when these guys come back. They should, like you said, the overwhelming favorite for a reason. They should be able to hold on and at least handle business against Carolina. But I don't know that there's much separating those two teams right now.
We were on together yesterday opposite the Packers and the Bears, and just watching that thing play out. The Bears, they didn't give up. There were plenty of opportunities that Chicago certainly could have. Nevertheless, Green Bay somehow gets that late cover. And as we look at it, the Packers at 9-3-1, favorites minus 230 to win that division. The Bears at 9-4 plus 280. The Lions not dead, 8-5 at plus 850. You seen any value at all on Green Bay or on, on Detroit at this point?
Detroit has got a huge game coming up on Sunday against the Rams. And you want to talk about litmus test. That is going to tell us an awful lot about this Detroit team, as well as the Rams team, although I think we have a better handle on what this Rams team is versus what Detroit. I still feel like there's a chance that Detroit could show up at any point, lay an absolute egg, and that's the end of that. I don't have that same feeling with the Rams, having watched them. But listen, Detroit, we know they are more than capable offensively. Defensively, they've had to deal with some injuries. But I just don't have the same level of confidence with them that I do right now with the Packers. And if I'm being honest, we covered that game yesterday. I mean, I am not a big Caleb Williams guy. Obviously, I talked about it. I said at some point, he has got to go on the road and win a game for this team. He had an opportunity to do it yesterday, but he didn't. I don't like the play call, but the bottom line is you got to win a game, Caleb Williams, when it matters the most on the road in the division. And he hasn't done that yet, which is problematic for me with the Bears moving forward.
What are you expecting from Monday Night Football tonight? The Eagles, 2.5-point favorites in LA against the Chargers.
Same thing we got last night. Watch it. It's like if you have a cure for insomnia, turn this game on. I don't see how either team moves the ball. You've got a Eagles team that leads the league in 3 and outs. You have a Chargers defense that allows the fewest plays of 20 or more yards. You're not going to be explosive. Both teams have issues on the offensive line. I mean, one quarterback's got a broken hand, another one can't throw the ball at all. So, yeah, I don't know where the points are coming from. We're talking about a team in Philadelphia that only averages 22.5 points a game on the season. They haven't scored more than 21 points in the last 4 weeks. So I think points are going to be very hard to come by. It feels like a Harbaugh game. Like this is the kind of game, low scoring, in the trenches, run the ball. Chargers definitely as a home dog are very much alive in this one.
So I was Houston in the under last night. It was a nice little parlay hit. You think LA in the under tonight, huh?
I can't look at the Eagles. You just can't trust them offensively to get it done. And not having Jalen Carter in the middle is a big problem. We watched with Jalen Carter, Chicago light him up on the ground. What's Hampton back now? What are the Chargers going to do?
Joe Ranieri, again, a host and analyst here on SportsGrid, does the early line Monday through Friday morning with Donnie Rightside. Make sure you check that out. Thank you so much, sir. We'll talk again soon.
Enjoy it.
let's play our game of buy or sell. Let's get to the quarterbacks for next year. Mac Jones will be an NFL starter to begin next season. He's looked great. Brock Purdy has not. Buy or sell?
You look through the NFL here. Miami, Jets, Cleveland, Raiders. I'm just going
Arizona,
by division.
Minnesota.
Arizona, definitely. Minnesota, definitely.
Raiders.
I mentioned
Can
the Raiders.
you just say buy and move on, please, to the next question? Because
It's a buy.
it's a buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a buy. It is a buy. He's right. He'll definitely be starting for somebody there, right? He has had a nice season. He'll start for somebody. Jets.
Buy. Gardner Minshew was a starter in the NFL year after year for the next guy in waiting. I mean, this keeps happening. You think that Mac Jones is not going to be a buy? All right. Daniel Jones will finish the season as a better fantasy quarterback than Justin Herbert of the Chargers. Both players, George, have slipped quite a bit in November here.
Broken fibula. No, he's not going to finish better than Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's going to finish the season. You got to think if they were playing better, maybe he'd be sitting out a week or two. But they've been struggling, trying to win that division. Big games now against Houston, that they're sort of pushing him in there. No. I know the offensive line for the Chargers is horrific. I get it. But no, I'll say Justin plays a little bit better.
I'm buying it. I don't like what I see with the Chargers at all. Can't run, can't throw, can't play defense. Feels like Harbaugh's getting a little
Broken
desperate.
fibula.
It's not a tibula. It's a fibula. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, fine.
I don't know that to be true. Okay. It just sounded good.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Our thanks to Joe Ranieri. We are not done talking football. I can promise you that. Much more of it on the way. Adam Kaplan is going to join us from SiriusXM NFL Radio. But college football, of course, we know we have the college football playoff bracket. Sorry, Notre Dame, you weren't invited to the party. Indiana, the new number one after the upset of Ohio State over the weekend in their conference title game. Rich Sermonello, who is regular here on the grid, breaks it all down, everything we need to know about the upcoming playoff.
Adam, college football is about to enter the postseason championship weekend in the books. We had 9 games, some good, some not so good. But we finally have a field of 12. We've talked, Adam, you and I, a lot throughout the season on Saturdays, who should make the playoffs, who should be out. We now have the 12-team field. My personal opinion, would love to get your take on it. My opinion is Miami belonged in over Notre Dame all along. I feel sort of bad for Notre Dame. 10 wins in a row. Jeremiah Love making a push throughout the season for the Heisman. But Miami beat Notre Dame head-to-head. I want to see the Canes have a shot. We'll have an opportunity to see that in what should be the most entertaining round one game. Miami at Texas A&M. The Irish, listen, you got to win your games when you're playing better opponents. Didn't happen. I almost have a bigger beef with Alabama. I know the metrics looked good, but 3 losses. Did not play well Saturday against Georgia in Atlanta. And I think it's sort of convenient that we forgot about what happened in week 1, maybe the worst loss of all the playoff teams to Florida State, which is under 500. Now, round 1 games, my biggest disappointment, not so much with the committee. I think they did the right thing, a little bit late, but did the right thing by boosting Miami. And this is out of the committee's hands. I think we need more standards, more benchmarks when it comes to which conference champions actually make it to the playoffs. I'm okay with 5 conference champs, but there needs to be some kind of a benchmark that you've got to be a top 15, top 16, even top 20 team. And listen, I love JMU. I think Bob Chesney is going to be a big-time coach at UCLA. He's already announced he's going to make that move. By the G5 standard, great program. I don't want to see them in the playoffs, though. I think we're all losing in round 1 by having JMU, Oregon, a repeat of Tulane, Ole Miss. Ole Miss won the first game 45-10. We've got another rematch in Alabama and Oklahoma. I think by far the most entertaining game will be Texas A&M Miami. Miami, now it's your time. You've been doubted. A lot of people don't think you belong here. Go out and beat Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Aggies, by the way, this year 7-0 at home. Now, a couple of other thoughts. We've got the Heisman coming up on Saturday. Again, Adam, we've talked about this throughout the season. Looks like a fait accompli. Looks like it'll be Fernando Mendoza. Big performance late. Some big-time throws to Charlie Becker in Indianapolis to beat Ohio State, #1 seed in the playoffs. I think it'll be Mendoza. Bigger question now will be who gets the invites to New York City. I think this year they'll cap it at 3. Mendoza, Diego Pavia, great job. I think he'll finish second. And number 3 will be Jeremiah Love. I think he's pound for pound the most talented player in college football, but not enough big games, not enough yards in the early going against Miami and Texas A&M. I think he finishes third. A lot of controversy. Would love to get your take on this too, Adam. I'll be listening to see what you say. Notre Dame opting out of a bowl game. I think it's a bad look. I think it's a bad decision. It's a very young team. I think a lot of these guys, CJ Carr, Leonard Moore, I think they could use more reps. So it's a lost opportunity, but it's another sign of how far we've fallen in terms of bowl games. Next week, we'll talk about some bowl tips. We've got a lot of games, 40 games to look at. I think there are opportunities for gamblers if you look real hard at these matchups.
Yeah, Rich, thank you very much and appreciate the breakdown. To answer your question, I think it's soft. I think it's incredibly soft that Notre Dame has elected so quickly to not participate in any sort of a bowl game. And don't get me wrong, I know that a lot of these bowls are very watered down. I mean, do you want to go play in the Wasabi Bowl at Fenway Park, for instance, if you're an organization like Notre Dame? Not that the Fighting Irish would be relegated to that, but you get my point. It's not, Frank, our producer, mentions the Pop-Tart Bowl. I remember when I was back at Syracuse, the team went to the Insight.com Bowl. I'm pretty sure that doesn't even exist. Yes, there are some lesser bowls. There's no doubt about it. But again, what have you been working for? What are you striving for? Obviously, it's a national championship, but still, some of these guys, and maybe the seniors, they're okay with it, but some of these guys, they're at the end. There are no more games to play. You'd think you'd want to go out with an opportunity to win that one more game altogether. There are only so many opportunities in this life to be able to enjoy such moments. Instead, it's everyone bringing their jerseys into the coach's office. We're out.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. Let's get to the quarterbacks for next year. Mac Jones will be an NFL starter to begin next season. He's looked great. Brock Purdy has not. Buy or sell?
You look through the NFL here. Miami, Jets, Cleveland, Raiders. I'm just going
Arizona,
up by division by division.
Minnesota.
Arizona, definitely. Minnesota, definitely.
Raiders.
I mentioned
Can
the Raiders.
you just say buy and move on, please, to the next question? Because
It's a buy. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a buy. It is a buy. He's right. He'll definitely be starting for somebody there, right? He has had a nice season. He'll start for somebody. Jets.
Buy. Gardner Minshew was a starter in the NFL year after year for the next guy in waiting. I mean, this keeps happening. You think that Mac Jones is not going to be a buy? All right. Daniel Jones will finish the season as a better fantasy quarterback than Justin Herbert of the Chargers. Both players, George, have slipped quite a bit in November here.
Broken fibula. No, he's not going to finish better than Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's going to finish the season. You got to think if they were playing better, maybe he'd be sitting out a week or two. But they've been struggling, trying to win that division. Big games now against Houston, that they're sort of pushing him in there. No. I know the offensive line for the Chargers is horrific. I get it. But no, I'll say Justin plays a little bit better.
I'm buying it. I don't like what I see with the Chargers at all. Can't run, can't throw, can't play defense. Feels like Harbaugh's getting a little desperate.
Broken fibula.
It's not a tibula. It's a fibula. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, fine.
I don't know that to be true. Okay. It just sounded good.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Back on NewsWire, Adam Kaufman, Adam Kaplan, as we bring in our next guest. He is, of course, someone who has covered the NFL for a good long while, Sirius XM NFL Radio, and a regular here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. Adam, Week 14 on the verge of wrapping up. We got Monday night tonight with Philadelphia against the Chargers in LA, but how's the week treated you so far?
Yeah, interesting week, Adam. Interesting week. Right when you think you know what a team's going to do, they're the exact opposite. I mean, I was surprised the Chiefs fell flat like that Sunday night against the Texans. The Texans, we'll talk more about this in my circle of trust in segment 2, but the Texans are a team that, if you just look at their performance this season, their defense has carried them. And as we go through the league and we take a look at it, there's context to everything. You kind of know what you're looking at this point. We're just about to wrap up 14, but it's been a fascinating season because there are things that happen that you just can't expect. I know the Bears had a tough loss yesterday. They really should have put it into overtime, but they didn't. But there's surprises, there's regression, and then there's your New England Patriots, who I did not see doing this. This is just insane. 11-2.
Well, we'll get to the Pats in just a little bit because I agree. It's nuts, and they got a huge game coming up with the Buffalo Bills. But in terms of just not knowing how a season is going to go, there's maybe no better example than the Indianapolis Colts, a team that was sitting at 8-2, has dropped 3 straight, and now is down to their third-string quarterback because, of course, there's no Anthony Richardson, and Daniel Jones, who was already playing on a broken leg, ruptures the Achilles in the other leg, so he's done. We've seen the drop-off of Jonathan Taylor, the runaway favorite for a while for Offensive Player of the Year. And with the schedule coming up here, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say this team may not win another game. So you're talking about 8-2 versus a potential 8-9.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's exactly what happened when Jones went down. And my feeling was it was going to be torn right Achilles. It is. You mentioned the left fibular fracture and that part of their descent, right? And you mentioned Jonathan Taylor. Daniel Jones can run the football. He had great straight line speed before the fibula injury. And then you've got the torn right Achilles, so he's done. He's on a 1-year deal worth $14 million, right? So you wipe that off the board. Anthony Richardson's got the orbital fracture. Remember, he got hurt in pregame warmups. Javarius Ward had the concussion. He went on IR the same after getting hurt in pregame warmups. And Richardson had the orbital fracture. So, yeah, and we'll see over the next couple of weeks whether he could practice. But Riley Leonard, the word I got is not a great arm. He's good size. His upside to be kind of like a middle of the road or low end number 2 quarterback. So I agree with their schedule the rest of the way. I don't see a win there. You could scratch them off of the playoffs. The Jaguars are another one of my surprise teams. I have to give them credit. We'll talk about them in the second segment. But here's what's going to happen, because this is going to be a big story going to the offseason, if Chris Ballard is still the general manager. So they're going to need a quarterback. They don't have a first-round pick. Mac Jones is a guy, talking to multiple sources around the league, will be, if he's not the top free agent quarterback, he's going to be one of the top 2 or 3. His tape, I'm told, has been fantastic. Under Kyle Shanahan, the West Coast offense, Adam, is a great fit for Mac Jones. And for whatever reason, with Bill Belichick, it did not work. Those two didn't see eye to eye. He was moved to Jacksonville as a backup last year. Now with the Niners filling in for Brock Purdy, it was mostly fantastic. And in a league where if you don't have a quarterback, Adam, you're looking for one. And the Colts don't have a first-round pick. That's a team to watch as we go forward next year. And we'll see what the personnel staff looks like. But it's a shame they don't have their first-round pick. Yes, they have Sauce Gardner for years to come. And, hey, that's great. But you're in purgatory when you don't have a quarterback.
Talking about quarterbacks, as we know, the MVP award, most valuable player, basically is a quarterback award at this stage. And right now, anyway, it's kind of a 2-man fight. All due respect to Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, and what he has done. Jordan Love certainly in the conversation, but the 2 guys with the best odds by far are Matthew Stafford and Drake May. And Stafford, we saw him move off of even money yesterday to right around minus 175 with Drake May idle because of his team's bye week. Maybe you can make the case one side or the other. I look at this, and I try not to do so as a Patriots fan with a homer outlook, right? But I look at this and I say, if Matthew Stafford wins this award, as it sits right now, anything can happen in the next 4 weeks. But right now, having this conversation, if he wins this award, it's a career achievement award more so than it is a 1-year you deserve it award, which I think is a better case for Drake May, given the weapons that Stafford has, the offense, the expectation for that team versus this Patriots team that has very little around Drake May and obviously was supposed to win 7 or 8 games.
All right, so I vote for the Pro Football Writers Association award, Adam. That's the second most prestigious award. AP, NFL, MVP, I get it. That's the top one. By the way, it's a regular season award only. It has nothing to do with the playoffs. You make a fair point for most improved quarterback, most improved player. Forget most improved quarterback, most improved player in the National Football League. Drake May, without a doubt, is my guy. I absolutely will vote for him. And Pro Football Writers Association, by the way, their poll is way longer than AP, but AP is actually recognized in contract incentives. Like that stuff matters. And quarterbacks, especially, usually veteran quarterbacks usually have something for making the Pro Bowl, being an All-Pro, AP All-Pro, or being an MVP. So Stafford is my MVP. By the way, he had a streak of 28 touchdown passes without an interception. Now, that was until the Carolina game. Okay, he didn't have a good game there. So you make a good point. Let's see how the final 4 weeks go. I vote for 2 polls, but again, the Pro Football Writers to me is the most important of the 2. I would absolutely vote for Matthew Stafford. And I did not agree last year in the way the vote went for a lot of people in AP because it's a total season award. It's not one half, okay? Josh Allen was the better quarterback last year, not Lamar Jackson. But when you look at this year's situation, Matthew Stafford has been spectacular. But you make a really good point. Stephon Diggs has done a nice job this season. Like, people wanted to coming off the ACL at him. Did he have anything left? He clearly does. They've got a couple journeymen at tight end. They're not great opposite. Booty's been a nice story of development, but they don't have a lot of talent at wide receiver, and they've done a good job. Drake May and Josh McDaniels is going to probably be my offensive coach of the year. The job that he has done to revive his career, by the way, after what happened with the Raiders, spectacular job. So this is a great discussion. Stafford's minus 175. He absolutely would have my vote right now.
Internally there in New England with a huge game coming up against the Bills where they can lock up the AFC with a win, obviously, and that's not going to be easy. Have Patriots officials, management, ownership, Mike Vrabel, anyone involved, obviously, off the field, have they moved the goalposts of the season at all from, a team that, look, we're just trying to grow and build upon what's happened in the past and introduce a new culture and all of that under a first, year head coach in this system anyway. Mike Vrabel obviously had success in Tennessee previously, but being at his first year in New England with a second-year quarterback starting every game for the first time now in Drake May, their behavior at the trade deadline would not indicate, hey, we're going all in, right? If nothing else, they were sellers at the deadline. Have they now, as this 10-game winning streak has continued, moved the goalposts on expectations for the year?
So, Adam, let me first say this. So in free agency, they felt like they were not going to sign 12 to 14 free agents. It's called like the free agent get-rich scheme. They saw this as a journey. They never felt like they were, what they are now at 11-2, Adam. It was just kind of one of these surprises where you go, okay, nobody saw this with the Patriots. They thought they'd be way better. There's no question. They thought they'd be improved. But with Mike Vrabel as a dynamic head coach, one of the top coaches we have in the National Football League, and a better vibe in the building. It didn't work with the previous staff, and then obviously with Belichick in the way that it ended. But when they put this thing together, they took a journey. Yes, they signed Milt Williams and a couple others. They made the trade for Stephon Diggs. But they just felt that they were going to take the slow route. I think you just hit it on the head there. And it wasn't just something like, okay, let's try to get to 8-8, 9-8, or 10-7, and let's that be a season. They weren't looking at that. And by the way, they never put a record on it. They just thought they'd be better than the roster looked, and they've done that. But I would tell you this, to sum this up, I would think, without saying what they thought the record might be, they're better than they thought they'd be. This has been a great, and they're not done yet either.
Nope. Busy month ahead, obviously, competing with not only the Bills, but the Broncos. We are not done with Adam Kaplan. Much more NFL on the way here on NewsWire.
Just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You then had a sensational game with the Bears and the Eagles. Who knew how great the Bears were in terms of blowing out the Eagles and having the NFC race go topsy-turvy. And then you also had the 2 NBA games. So it was a big win, I thought, for Amazon for their first ever really big Black Friday day. I think it's something we see them doing now forever on that Black Friday.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Adam Kaplan with us, SiriusXM NFL Radio, talking about the week that was in the NFL and some big picture topics, including just in the last few minutes, Adam, we got official word from Kevin Stefanski. He told reporters Shedeur Sanders is going to be the QB1 for the remainder of the season. And this is exactly what I was looking for personally. I don't know how you felt. My feeling was even opening the season with Joe Flacco and having Kenny Pickett in the mix early and all, like, no, you're the Cleveland Browns. You got to find out if you need a quarterback in the upcoming draft. And the only way to do that is to see if you have anything in the guys that you just drafted. We've seen Dylan Gabriel. I feel like we have a sense of what he is. Now it's time for Shedeur Sanders to get his run for the rest of the year, and they can properly evaluate him over a decent sampling size with number ones, which even in practices, he said he never had. So what do you think of what we've seen from Shedeur so far?
All right, Adam. So here's what I told Craig Mitch, who typically hosts the show. When Shedeur is going to start his first game, I said, no matter what happens, he's going to start the rest of the season, as long as it's not so bad they have to get him out of there just to save his confidence. But yeah, the game against the Raiders, not great. He made a couple throws. That was really it. But fast forward to this game, he was really, really good. And the pass that was so impressive is the touchdown pass to Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end from Bowling Green. He's not a great athlete, but the guy gets open. He put up huge numbers last year at BG. So that's called what we call, Adam, an anticipation pass. What he did was he got the ball out as Fannin was in his route. We have to understand that Shedeur Sanders is not a runner. He's a drop back passer. And you saw that. Yes, he held on the ball sometimes a little bit too long. And by the way, the Browns were down 2 offensive linemen yesterday, so they actually gave him pretty good time. And certainly you don't run throwing the ball 42 times. But, man, some of the throws he made were spectacular and phenomenal. And you could build on that. And obviously there's no way they're going to Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He's a smaller quarterback. He's got good movement, decent arm, but he's a smaller guy. Shedeur is not going to wow you with athleticism. He's going to wow you with timing and rhythm. And I thought Stefanski and his staff did a great job, other than 2-point conversion, which to this second, I just don't understand the point of that type of call. But I thought Shedeur, Adam, was really, really good, and you could build on that. And you make a good point here. You don't do it but I would disagree with one thing. You were not going to start with Shedeur to start the season. He wasn't ready yet. You always kind of know, you know what, now it's time to throw the guy in there. Let's see. This is the time. The season's over in terms of making the playoffs. Get the evaluation and go from there.
You had teased before Kaplan's NFL Circle of Trust. What do we have today? We just got Adam locked up. We'll get him back and review. See, you got all you out there wondering about the Circle of Trust. We're going to get the reviews here from Adam is what we have. I think we've got him back. So, Adam, as I was just saying, your Circle of Trust, you teased this in the previous segment. What are we looking at?
And actually, before we get started, shout out to Dan Byer from Fox Sports Radio, who's probably watching this. Yeah, he watches it every week. So, and let me just explain how I come up with this list. It's not a power rankings list. There's nothing to do with power rankings. Anyone can do that. This is based on conversations with, like, let's say the Rams, right? I like to talk to the opponents. They're my number one team. I call them the high trust team. In a league and in a season in 2025 where, Adam, it's completely wide open for who might win the Super Bowl, the Rams are the most consistent team. They have 2 losses. One of them, they were blowing out the Eagles. Okay? They blew a lead with more than 20 points. They should have won that game in Philly. They dominated for 2.5 quarters. They blew that game. They should have won it in Philly. But it's how they're coached. It's the buy-in from the players and the front office. Les Snead's one of the best GMs in the National Football League. He dressed extremely well. They're number one. The Patriots. I missed on this team. I'm going to admit it. I like the under 8.5. I didn't see this. Vrabel's a great coach. Great vibe, as one team source told me. And he has changed his style of coaching a little bit. Those videos are real. Like, you see him shaking on IG, especially his players' hands. He's like that, I'm told, behind the scenes. He's connective like he's never been before. I'm not sure why. I don't know Vrabel, but I've talked to people who know him. He's adjusted his coaching and the way he connects with people. He's done a phenomenal job. It will be my coach of the year, by the way. I can tell that right now. The Broncos, I know they don't always cover. They cover small numbers. But when they play a really good team, they're probably going to cover it because they have the best defense. They are elite. Texans number 2 with the defense. Now the Seahawks, I picked them. I should have picked them to win division, Adam. I'm bothered by it. I did pick them to be a wild card, but they're in my trust because their defense is elite. Sam Darnold's having a good, not great year, but as long as he doesn't implode, they have a chance to make a big run. Another team I missed on with the Jaguars. I did not see this in Liam Cohen's first year. Notice the trend, Adam. At Liam Cohen, a first-year coach, right? Not like Vrabel, but he's in this first year with the Jaguars. And Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator, one of the best defensive jobs I've seen this season, done a great job. And the Bears, they're still on my trustworthy list. One bad loss. It's not a bad loss. One loss. They almost came back and at least tied it. One loss does not make a season. I still trust them because they have great coaching. I do not buy into the Bills and Chargers right now. The Chargers play the Eagles tonight. They have a decided advantage. Jalen Carter out for the Eagles. The Chargers should win this game. But the Bills, you saw the Bengals get up early. Then I give Josh Allen credit, brought the team back. Their defense worries me. They have a number of injuries. They are not a consistent football team. Teams I don't trust. Colts, Lions, Eagles, injuries are not playing to their capability. Steelers, I don't buy them at all, despite the win. The Bucs and the Panthers don't buy those teams out. Chiefs and Ravens. I can't believe the Chiefs and Ravens, Adam. I don't know what to say. I think we all missed on those teams this season. They've been extremely disappointing.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same watching the playoffs, obviously, without behemoth quarterbacks like a Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in there. And honestly, there are some other Joe Burrow. Not that Cincinnati was ever really in the race, but obviously he is a name. And honestly, had the Bengals prevailed against the Bills, there was conversation as to whether Josh Allen could potentially fall out. So it's going to look a little strange in the AFC this year, but it just speaks to, again, the parity across this league and everything, especially in that conference, but in general, it is wide, wide open. Again, Adam Kaplan, a weekly guest here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. You can get him on Twitter at Kaplan NFL. He is, of course, from SiriusXM NFL Radio. Adam, always appreciate it.
Thanks, man. You got it. Thank you.
All right. We will come on back, get to our last licks, wrap up the show. There's a lot more today.
just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You then had a sensational game with the Bears and the Eagles. Who knew how great the Bears were in terms of blowing out the Eagles and having the NFC race go topsy-turvy? And then you also had the 2 NBA games. So it was a big win, I thought, for Amazon for their first ever really big Black Friday day. I think it's something we see them doing now forever on that Black Friday.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back here on NewsWire. I want to thank all of our guests that have been part of this program. Of course, most recently, we had Adam Kaplan. Earlier in the show, Vinny Iyer, Jacob Kamenker. Of course, Joe Ranieri joined us as well. Everyone behind the scenes who make this show possible. Frank, Luke, John, Anthony, we appreciate everybody. We thank you out there for joining us for just a little bit of your time here on a Monday, recapping, looking back on all that happened in the NFL throughout the weekend, and some big happenings potentially on the way between Philadelphia and LA tonight. And I'm with Adam, by the way. I like the Chargers in tonight's game, the Dogs. So we'll see how that winds up playing out. Let's get to our SportsGrid last licks. Okay, well, you see it. We've been talking about it. No college football playoff, no bowl games for Notre Dame. No fun for the Fighting Irish. Just a lot of moping, honestly. Now, do the Irish have a case to be in the college football playoff? Of course. And I thought they would. I thought it would be ultimately Miami that would probably fall short, and it would be Notre Dame there instead of the Hurricanes. But it is what it is. I know they're going to gripe. They've been doing plenty of it, even right down to offering an official statement on their discontent for not being included in this, and as a result saying, yeah, well, we're not playing anywhere else, then we're not playing in bowls. Speaks to a number of issues. You know, for one, obviously, Rich Sermonello talked about some of this stuff earlier in the program, if you had the opportunity to tune in. Not having a conference does work against Notre Dame to a certain degree, and that may be something the Fighting Irish are going to have to deal with in the years to come. Now, personally, I would love to see Notre Dame the one more time this year. I am surprised by the committee's decision because I think just as a program, interest level, fandom, all of that, Notre Dame is just more eyeballs, better story than Miami. But decision was made ultimately, and now you're going to just continue to have the circle of people that do every year, whether it was a 4-team playoff up to 12, and it's only going to continue to expand from here, 16, 18, 24, whatever the number gets to in the years to come. The fact that there are no set benchmarks required to be a part of the college football playoff. A committee can decide this thing, go all willy-nilly, and aggravate people on the way, deciding ultimately what they want versus at times who is more deserving. So is what it is. That in mind, why don't we go on to our last lick, number 2, and that is The hitman remains out of the hall. Speaking of committees, in a matter of speaking, pardon me, Hall of Fame voters. The latest committee, the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee for the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, has decided that Don Mattingly not going to be part of this thing, and in all likelihood will not be, period. Receiving just 6 out of 16 votes from that committee. 12 votes required for enshrinement into Cooperstown. He did not come even close. And this comes on the heels, obviously, of just continued controversy, honestly, around the Baseball Hall of Fame. On the one hand, when we're talking about veterans like a Mattingly, you don't have any of the either cheaters, actual proven cheaters, or assumed cheaters. And you can go up and down the list. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, on and on and on. Their cases continue to get worse by the year, and it's a joke. They belong. Many of them, maybe not all, but many of them, some, no doubt about it, are Hall of Famers. You're going to tell me there was a better right-handed hitter than Manny Ramirez? You're going to tell me that Barry Bonds, even before he cheated, wasn't a Hall of Famer? That Roger Clemens and his billion Cy Youngs doesn't belong in the Hall? Of course, these guys all do. And it's a museum. Cooperstown is a museum. It celebrates, ultimately, the sport. And whether or not, I know these guys are in there, they're recognized, so to speak, for achievements along the way. But the fact they don't have plaques, even something with an asterisk that says, oh, by the way, this guy, blah, 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 it's kind of embarrassing. Especially when you're going to go and put Jeff Kent, who is very much in the Hall of Good to maybe very good in the Hall. We're just... It's bad. It's bad. The list of Hall of Famers that are getting into this thing when there used to be such a high bar, it gets embarrassing just a little bit. Our third and final last lick here. Another tough season for Gang Green, the New York Jets. 15 consecutive years, the Jets not in the postseason. The longest drought among any team in the 4 major North American leagues. Of course, MLB, NHL, and NBA. The Jets, hey, you got to win something, and I guess by not winning anything, you get to win this. It's you, year after year after year, not a part of the dance. Maybe at some point. Good luck on the way to a 20th anniversary, just a handful of years away. Craig will be back with you, I think maybe tomorrow, if not Wednesday. Either way, I'm Adam. Thanks for watching. See you later.
Just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You then had a sensational game with the Bears and the Eagles. Who knew how great the Bears were in terms of blowing out the Eagles and maybe having the NFC race go topsy-turvy. And then you also had the 2 NBA games. So it was a big win, I thought, for Amazon for their first ever really big Black Friday day. And I think it's something you're going to see them doing now forever on that Black Friday.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here